Hey guys, and welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to set up Voicemeeter Banana in 2025. I'll try to explain you everything as simple as possible. I'll also show you how to EQ your voice, so how to make your voice better in Voicemeeter Banana, and also how to set up Voicemeeter for Discord and how to set up Voicemeeter for OBS. But first guys, if you want, you can go down on this video in the comment section and click on the first comment that I pinned. This will bring you to my Fiverr, and here you can get a YouTube logo and banner or a modern minimalist YouTube logo and banner for your YouTube channel. But now back to the video. Okay, so as you can see right here, I have Voicemeeter Banana ready to go. Now, in case you don't have Voicemeeter Banana yet, I actually have a video up here in the right corner that shows you how to download and install Voicemeeter Banana and also how to get the virtual cable, which is something we will use in this video. But in the case if you had any troubles or doubts about how to get Voicemeeter Banana, just make sure you check out that video. Now, before jumping in, I want to show you something important that you should do first as well. We're actually going to go down here to the sound icon, right click, and we're going to do sound settings. Here you actually want to scroll down to more sound settings to bring up this window right here. Now, first you want to go to playback right here. If you go down, now Voicemeeter Banana only has 3, but because I have Voicemeeter Potato as well, I actually have 5 right here. But of course, if you have Voicemeeter Banana only, you only have until the 3 right here. And so here you just want to make sure that you click on Voicemeeter input right here. And you click on set as default right here, and then you do apply. And if you go to the recording tab right here, you go down. And if you right click on one of them, for example, you go to properties, go to advanced right here. You actually want to make sure that this right here is either on 48,000 Hz studio quality or 48,000 Hz DVD quality. Okay, either of the two, both are pretty good, but make sure it's at least 48,000 DVD quality or of course studio quality, in case you're using one of these right here. Now actually go to the communications tab right here. I actually want to make sure that most of the time you do nothing right here. So as you can see, if any sounds are coming in, like for example a call, Windows would actually reduce the volume of other sounds by 80%. I don't necessarily want that. If you want to have full control over all of the sounds within Windows, I definitely advise you to do nothing, especially in this case, since we're using Voicemeeter. So then you apply, then you click OK. But just something important that I quickly wanted to mention. As you can see right here, we are in Voicemeeter Banana right here. It might seem a bit overwhelming or complicated if you first use it, but it's actually very simple. So I'm going to bring it down to you. You have 3 inputs here. So this is called stereo input 1, but I changed the name, stereo input 2 and stereo input 3, or hardware input 1, 2 and 3. Same thing. And basically those are the physical inputs, like for example your microphone here. And so here on the right side, physical outputs. So A1 to A3, as you can see, so those correspond to the physical ones right here. So these 3 correspond to these 3. This can also be distinguished by the A1, A2, A3 right here. As you can see, this is A1, this is A2, A3. Now here right here, as you can see, we have 2 virtual inputs. That's anything virtual, like for example Discord, YouTube, OBS. And so these correspond to the last 2, as you can see, virtual outputs right here, which are B1 and B2, once again, that you can see right here. And so these can be immediately linked to either B1, B2 or both. As you can see, I don't have any settings going on here, but what you can do, for example, is go to menu and do reset settings, reinitialize, so basically to put everything back. You can see yes, so as I said, I didn't have any settings to begin with, but if you had some settings lingering around, you can just reset it if you want to. Now if I go back to menu, you can also do system tray right here, and so run on Windows Startup. System tray, we actually be able to put it right here in the little arrow. And so if you're actually starting up Windows, Voicemeeter will actually start up immediately as well. And then put system tray right here to actually be in the background. So as I said, with the little arrow right here. So that's of course something you want, you can do that. Something else important, you want to go down to system settings here. And especially make sure right here that the sample rate is set to 48,000 right here. It's very important. Also in the world of music, everyone uses 48,000 Hertz. It's a little too unnecessarily low. 44,100 and 88,200 is a bit too high for nothing. So really, most cases when you're using audio in general, as I said, also when you're making music, for example, we're just going to use 48,000 Hertz. So make sure it's on that. In case you're having a problem with latency, you can see right here, you can choose one of these. It's the buffering. Basically, WDM is going to be our input and MME is going to be our output. Now you can test both. WDM can be input and output, or MME can be input output. That really depends. I'll go over that into a minute. But basically, if you right click on here, you will actually get a message right here that say that it wouldn't be really necessary to change anything, that everything should be good already. Click OK here. As I said, it's possible you have latency problems. Now latency, in case you don't know what that is for example, if you talk a few words or you sing and the vocals come in a couple of milliseconds or a second later, so there's like a delay in there. Same if, for example, you have a guitar and you strum a couple of chords and output, and the sound only comes back to you like a couple of milliseconds, a second later. That means that you have some kind of delay, and that's called latency, because it's a sound that's getting there late in the output. And so basically, now the more you bring this down, the less latency there will be. Now, of course, once again, this is only if you're really getting some pretty big latency right here, or for your taste, it isn't direct enough, the sound. You can really consider putting this down, but generally speaking, you won't really need to. But I do think it's something important to mention here. Then you can close this. I do, by the way, here in the master section, like to put this to stereo repeat right here, as you can see. I'll put this both to stereo repeat as well. It's really for that good stereo sound, which really is the best option in my opinion, and that's why I always like to put all of the channels that I'm using. So in this video, I'm going to use A1, B1, and B2. I'm going to use all 3 of them, and so in that case, I really like to use stereo repeat as I said, because I do think it's one of the best options you could use. Now here I'm actually going to add a output right here. So for that you want to go to A1 and I'm going to go for an MME. Now you can also do, as I said earlier, WDM for an output. That is possible, but I would go for an MME in this case. And as you can see, it's a list of the outputs that you have available to you. These are my normal speakers right here. This will be my screen. This is the cable inputs. That's the one that I asked you to download in that video, which once again we will use actually. And this is also a speakers, but then in this case I would put my headphones into the speakers right here of my microphone and then I will hear the sound through my microphone. So that's why it says Yeti stereo microphones, basically my microphone. Now if by the way you want to hear yourself, you might have guessed it, you just have to select it on speakers right here. It won't actually be in speakers, so in this case my speakers would be my headphone, so I actually hear myself speak. Now this is something you might want, of course, to add the effects and everything, to listen how it sounds. The effects I'm gonna add later right here. For any reason you want to hear yourself talk, make sure it's on A1. Generally speaking it's gonna be A1. Also right here you can see to allow you to hear yourself speak, and set it, as I said, to speakers. But in this case I don't want to hear myself, so I'm just going to put it to the cable input. And then of course, very important right here, we also need an input in this case, so I'm going to click right here. As I said, in this case I do prefer to select a WDM and alternate between MME to really see if you don't have any problems and might actually consider using the other one. Now in this case I'm not going to do anything complicated here. I'm just going to add my Blue Yeti microphone right here. Okay, so there you go. As you can hear, I don't actually have any effects on my voice right now. I just put it on default and I just put the input Voicemeeter Banana right here. So my microphone does sound like it comes raw out of the box right now. Now by the way, up here if you want to change this, you can actually just right click and call it whatever you want. It's just easier to distinguish and call this microphone, desktop audio, whatever you want to. But anyways, basically this is the easier version of changing your voice in Voicemeeter Banana. It's actually pretty simple. If I go over here, you might notice my voice gets a lot lower, as you can see right here. Now here it gets a bit higher, a lot higher actually. To get too much right here, it's going to be too thin. So you don't want to get it too low nor too thin right here. And up here there's like an echo of sound. There might be scenarios where you want to use that, but I don't see a lot of scenarios where you actually need something like that, except if you want to put a specific effect on your voice. But anyway, in the past I generally had it around here at times, and at times I already also had it around here, like a good middle ground between low and high here. But that's something you have to see if you want to use that. Now if you double click on it, it will be reset, as you can see. Now if I right click, here's going to be some modulation. Obviously it also has to be a specific reason that you want to use this effect right here, obviously. I could only imagine. And if you right click again, you actually have panning. So going from the left ear right here, and actually you can go like this. I'm gonna go to your right ear right now. That of course is the basic panning, and if I put it back here, you can also do this in like a 3D graph right here, in case that's something you want. But now we are just going to put this back and right click again to be back at the start right here. And now if I go underneath here, you can see the first one is comp, so compression. Compression is going to compress the voice a bit, limited to a certain dB. Now that's a bit complicated, but I think generally speaking, if you want to use some, I wouldn't really go over 2 right here, especially since it's not really a detailed compression. I really wouldn't advise you to go over 2 or anything like that. It can be very useful, as I said, if you really want to limit the voice to a certain degree. But since you only have this one right here, just put it around 2, I would say. Really try to see what it does to your voice. But that of course also depends on the recording environment that you're working with. And now here we have a gate. So this actually removes background sound. And as you can see, the more I put this up. Now don't put this up too much, because I'll show you actually, I'm going to put this down a bit. But to actually cut off, so I'll do that on purpose right now. I'll continue talking, but you'll hear that my voice is going to cut off. My voice is probably cutting off right now. As you can hear, it's probably cutting off. So if you're going to use that same, I wouldn't do like over between 3 and 5, maybe that's the maximum. It really depends how much background noise you're working with, which is something of course you want to eliminate. So once again, of course, it's nice to do A1 here and then actually do your speakers to hear yourself speak and to actually know to which extent you want to use these in your case. As I said in the past, if you want to connect any of these inputs to the outputs right here, you just have to select it. As you can see right now, my microphone is only connected to A1, as you can see right here. But you could of course also select the virtual outputs, as you can see here, as B1 and B2. Same here for the virtual inputs. You can also put them to the physical ones, and also, as you can see right here, to the virtual ones. So just make sure that you select or unselect these right here, as simple as that, to connect it to one of the outputs right here. No matter in this case if they're physical or virtual. Now there might be cases that you can only hear your microphone in one ear. This generally speaking means that you should set your microphone to mono, and this is actually something you can do within Voicemeeter. If I click mono right here. Now for me it might only make my voice a bit louder, but in any case you should really select this if you're only hearing it in one ear right here. This is definitely something I could advise you to actually select. And of course, in general, microphones are actually recorded in mono, so that's also something to keep in mind. Now something here simple as the volume. So if I bring this down, it's going to be more quiet, as you can see, and if I bring this up, it's going to be a bit louder. Obviously don't do it too much right here. Of course mine is the 3 dB, and the plus 3B, it gets pretty loud already right here, as you can see, became red. So really just balance the sound. If you have a very quiet microphone, you can of course put it up right here, and if the sound is too hard for some reason, you can also put it down a bit here. But there's also a little trick right here. If you drag down, as you can see, there's a limiter that will come down, and this limits the sound. So that means that no matter how far I pull this down, it will limit the sound to that decibel right there. So now for example, it can go above -3. It limits the sound to -3. basically. If there's really a certain dB that you don't want to go over, for example, you're screaming or there's something, a very sudden loud noise, you can always put the limiter up there, and that could help a lot in some cases. So of course, always make sure you have to pull a bit right here. You can't get it the first time maybe, but you have to just pull around a bit here and then you'll be able to get this limiter down. Always very useful. Now to finish off right here, if I go up here, you can right click on the word Intellipan, and this will actually make sure that you can reset, copy or save any of the effects right here. For some reason want to, for example, save the compression specifically or the gate right here. You can also do that individually. You can reset them, of course, but you can also copy them and save them. But if you, for example, want to save this whole thing right here, everything, you just do save all, and you can just simply save everything at once. So that's something to keep in mind. It could always be useful in case you didn't know about that. Basically, as I said in the intro of this video, I also wanted to show you how to EQ your voice in Voicemeeter Banana. So it's actually a more advanced way than this right here. So this is going to make your voice better as well. But we're going to do it a bit more advanced here. And for that, we're just going to make sure that this one is to A1 right here, which it already was. And what we're going to do then is actually go to, as you can see, the word EQ right here. Now, first of all, make sure that it's blue. So you just want to click on it, left click with your mouse, and it's going to be blue. That means it's activated, it's enabled. And then what you want to do is actually do right click. As you can see right here, the EQ window will show up here. Now, in case you don't know anything about EQ or just a little, I'm going to explain you as simple as possible here. Now, first of all, as you can see, we have different frequencies up here in hertz. Basically, you have to see this as the lows right here, around here, up until like this point right here. And then right here, approximately this part right here is going to be the mids, so the middle parts. And then right here is going to be the highs, so very treble, very high end part of the EQ. So we have these simple three parts right here. Based on that, we're actually not going to go underneath 100 here. So this is way too low. It brings a lot of rumble, a lot of subwoofer, low kind of sounds that we can't use. You can, as a general rule, actually cut anything under 100 right here and just make a, you can see like a low pass right here. It will cut out everything around 100 right here. You can also maybe hear the difference already, but we're not actually going to do that in this video. I'll just leave it like this. It doesn't really matter that much. It's a bit more detailed, but I will, although, take this right here and put it around 150. As you can see right here, I'm going to put it up a bit, but it's maybe a little bit lower. I want to be approximately in the middle right here without taking too much of either side. There we go. I'm going to put this up around 3 somewhere over there. Now you might already start to hear that my voice is quite low. Now if I exaggerate it, it gets too low, way too low right here, as you can hear. So of course you want to generally be around 1.5 to 3 dB approximately. It really depends on you how much actually lows you want in there, because these are the lows. As I said, I'm going to keep it around here, I think. I actually like that to have a little bit of bass in there. Now you can also use this one to make it a bit smaller, the range. If for example you want it less to this side and this side, we're actually going to make it more narrow, if you will. A bit more specific of a frequency. You can also do very specific, of course, that you actually really just take a little bit of that frequency, a very specific part of it, give it a bit more room here. So now there are going to be two parts that we're not going to use. I would say up to like 400, as you can see the little 4 right here. You can use that as a reference. Just go up here and it's around the 400, so 200 to 400 right here. Around there, I don't like to touch those frequencies because it makes your sound muffled, no matter if you put it up or down. So when you put it up, it's actually called boosting. So this right here is a boost. If you put it down, it's called cutting. So if I would have put this down, it's cutting basically, which I will do in a minute right here. But basically between 200 and 400, I do not advise you to neither boost or cut, as I said, around here, nor around 400 to, I would say around 800 to 900, around there. Really depends. But that is going to make it boxed. So from 400 to like 700 and between 7 and 900, it's going to be boxed. So I don't advise you as well to neither boost or cut it around there, because really it won't do any good to whatever you're doing, specifically with your voice. And that's why I'm only going to focus on the mids right here. That middle part is going to be like between 1000 and 2000, let's say, around there. And so I will actually put that in between the two as well. A middle ground between 1000 and 2000 approximately. Actually put this down a bit. So what I'm doing now, as I said, is cutting. So I'm cutting the frequency right here because I'm bringing it down. Same, I'm going to make this a bit more narrow, a bit more specific. I want to say quite a lot actually. Now the cut I'm going to make here is not going to be very big because I put it down too much. As you can see right here, it sounds pretty muffled. If I put it up to here, it sounds way too thin, you know. So it doesn't really sound that good. The best sound you really just get around here, I would say. So not touching it that much either. But yeah, this is something really you have to do by ear. And it's specific to you, of course. Anyways, then right here, I'm just going to bring this down quite a lot. The frequency that I really like, which is around 2100 hertz. Just going to push this up right here. Same to almost 3 right here. Now this is going to mess a bit too much with this right here. So it's going to make it more narrow. Because I only really specifically want that frequency. I'm going to make it very narrow actually. Put it up a bit like this right here. There's a bit more clarity in my voice, a bit more of that frequency. So that's why I like to use this one right here. Actually, as I said, put it pretty specifically around there, like 3 dB and around there. So I generally like to do. And actually the last one here, we're going to use to make the, because as I said, like the 2100, so basically around here until like 8, 9, 10,000 is going to be the clarity very clear. Now, of course, above that as well. And for example, right here in the last one, around 12,000. This is more of the openness, very the clearness of, in this case, the voice recording. What I'm going to add here is this one right here specifically. Just click on that. And I'm going to keep it around 12,000. And just put this up a little bit right here. Just makes it a bit more clear, a bit more open everything, you know. Gives it some air. So yeah, basically, if I keep it around here, as you can see, There's a bit of a difference there compared to when it was just raw, when there were no effects on it. As you can see, there's definitely a difference right now. If, for example, as you can see right here, it's activated, but if I turn it off, as you can see right now, my voice does sound different as when I have it turned on again, as you can see right now. So yeah, definitely EQ plays a big role. I might not have done it perfectly right here, but the idea really is here. And as I said, you have to make it a bit more specific to your voice, because I like a little bit of lows in there. Maybe you don't like that at all. You're actually going to put this more down. Now, don't put this down too much, because it's going to be way too much treble, and your voice is going to be way too thin, and that's also something you want to avoid. But you could, as a general rule, pretty much follow this. So women voices are actually a bit higher generally, so that might be a bit different. And of course, we also all have different voices. We might have the same microphone, but we do all have all different voices. So that's why I really advise you to once again go up here, just click on it, and you do the speakers right here. To actually hear yourself while you're doing this in the process, you'll be able to. You just hear yourself and just see what you like most as EQ in your voice. I do really advise you to do that, to make it specific to you, and so that you also have a sound that you're happy with. Okay, there you go. As you can see, I reset everything and I'm back to my normal voice. I did also want to mention that if you go, for example, to stereo input 2 right here, you can, for example, right click here, the WDM or MME once again, and click on the cable output. And see right here, you can just link it to this channel. And then when you're, for example, connecting to Discord, just put as an output in Discord, cable input right here. So it sounds weird, but make sure that the output in Discord is cable input. So the VB audio virtual cable. And this is because the VB cable serves as a virtual audio device. So working, of course, in this case as a virtual cable. And so this actually allow you to connect to one of the outputs right here. Of course, it can also be one of the first 3 physical outputs right here. In this case, of course, for example, if we put it on A2 right here, be able to do the same once again, just click on the EQ right here and then right click. And you'd actually be able to EQ whatever desktop sound, as I said, for example, something like Spotify, Discord, that whenever you connect to this one, you would actually be able to add some EQ right here if you want, for example, change the sound for some reason. And so if I reset this again right here, you would also be able to put one of the desktop sounds, if you want, for example, multiple sources, to the virtual inputs right here. So I'm actually going to show you how to connect it to the first Voicemeeter input right here. In case you're using that, you actually want to go down here, go to select the sound output, and right here in your case, you want to make sure it's Voicemeter input, VB audio Voicemeter VAIO right here. So this one specifically, because this one right here will specifically link to this one right here. And so as you can see right here, I also went to A1 here and put on the MME and then the speakers, because this is actually because I have an example right here. You can see it's ambient music from the channel Eternal Depth. And so because, as I said, I put the output right here to Voicemeter input VB audio Voicemeter VAIO, it will actually be directly linked to this one right here, the Voicemeter input. And I can actually hear this because I put this one on speakers, the A1 once again. So I'll just be able to hear within Voicemeter. So that's basically what I want to show you, possibilities right here within the virtual inputs. As you can see right here, it's connected to the A1, so this one right here, and B1, so the virtual output right here, B1 as well. And so I'm actually going to start playing the music right here. As you can see right here, we have the music playing, we can see the signal right here, both channels. And what I can basically show you right here, if I start touching upon this simpler version of the equalizer, treble the high end here. As you can see, it makes it a lot clearer, but also very thin. The mids right here, so the middle part. And the bass, so the low end basically. So this removes a lot, obviously, makes it very thin because there's pretty much no bass in there. And if I put it up again, as you can see, it's quite fun actually to play around with that. And does also change the sound of YouTube, for example, in this case, but also, of course, your Spotify or whatever else. So that's definitely also nice to keep in mind as well, because there are multiple virtual inputs that you can put here. So also, for example, Discord and OBS, which I'll show you in a minute. You might also have noticed that there's actually a built-in cassette player right here within Voicemeeter Banana. Now this can either put a brief recording or just record a very lengthy recording. That's really entirely up to you what you want to use this for. And it'll simply be able to do as an MP3, for example, or a WAV, as you can see right here. They also have WAV, which is a better audio format. Just basically have some of the same settings as a real life cassette. So this will be rewind backwards. Can also go forward, of course. This will be the play, so the start button, stop button, obviously. And this will actually be the record button. So if you actually want to start recording, you click on the record button. As you can see, it's currently actually connected to all of the channels right here, all of the physical and the virtual ones. So whatever would be happening within Voicemeeter Banana right now would be recorded by the cassette in case you wanted to use that. And I can actually show you by that. If I just click on this, as you can see, it will bring me to a Voicemeeter folder right here, which I have multiple folders right here of different voice meters and different settings I had. And then you, for example, can just save the recording right here. As you can see, this is one I did in the past, which actually came out as a WAV file, but as I said, I can also do an MP3, for example, as you can see here. So that's in case you want to, of course, save that recording that you did here in question. Now, same also very important, if you click around the same place right here, but you do right click with your mouse, you can also once again see the 3 physical inputs right here and then the 2 virtual ones. Now you can actually choose where this is going to be saved, so you can actually just browse it yourself, find the path yourself. Here's some other details. Now, of course, the sample rate should already be to 48,000 Hz, as you saw at the beginning. It's going to be 16 bits, but you can also put this to 24 before. As you can see here, some loop options, of course, as well. It's a bit more detailed, but that's really if you want to go into this recorder, you can always check that out. And actually, after you're finished recording with the cassette entirely, you go to menu and do eject cassette right here. So release the audio file. Same idea, of course, as I said with a real, with obviously an analog cassette, we have a digital one right here. You do want to make sure if you're completely done, you just eject the cassette right here. Okay, so now I'm actually going to show you how to actually set up Voicemeeter Banana in Discord. Okay, so as you can see right here, I am in Discord. So what I'm going to do then is go down here to the user settings. I'm going to go to specifically voice and video. Now there are scenarios where you can leave this to default, but that's in case, for example, as I said in the beginning of the video, if you remember, I put within Windows the input as Voicemeeter input and the output as Voicemeeter output, but within Windows. So in that case, you would be able to do it as default. But most of the cases, I don't really advise that. If you want to record something specific, it's better to do it yourself. And the input, generally speaking, is simply going to be, as you can see, the 3 right here. And input is simply going to be the A1, as you can see, A2, A3. Simply the inputs, as you can see right here, is going to be A1, A2, A3. You can see like here, A3 would be this one, for example. So those are just going to be the input channels. And of course, the B1, B2 would be these ones right here. So you're going to put the inputs, it's only going to be these 5 right here that matter. So if I would, for example, to put this to Voicemeeter out B1, and for example, put this to just my regular speakers, or the cable input, of course. As you can see right here, as recording, you can see it in A1 and B1 as well, because I also linked it to B1. If I do check right here, you can see, you can also see it appear right here if I do a check. Anything I will do this first channel, as I said, for example, the voice effects or the EQ right here, I will now be able to use that on my voice. Now, if you want to, for example, put this to a specific output, you can, for example, also do the Voicemeeter input VB audio Voicemeeter right here. That will link it to this one right here. I can also do the aux right here, so the AUX input right here, and that will do it to this one right here. And of course, the Voicemeeter in 1, 2, and 3 right here would be this one right here as an output. And so lastly, I also wanted to show you how to set up Voicemeeter Banana for OBS. So what I'm going to do first here is go to the settings actually. And actually go to the output first. I'm going to go to audio. And no matter how many tracks you use right here, make sure it's on 320. It's the best quality I can advise you. And then just go to the actual audio tab right here. Make sure that's, by the way, this is on 48,000 kilohertz. And the channels are on stereo, of course. Now I have my default, as you can see, speakers right here. My default microphone, which is the Blue Yeti microphone. But once again, we can change this, of course. If I go to the input, so this is going to be the input right here. We have once again the physical input. So you have the Voicemeter A1, Voicemeter out A2, and Voicemeter out A3. These once again will be these 3 right here as inputs, and Voicemeter out B1 and B2 right here would be these 2 inputs. Same, you want to connect it to any of these inputs right here, just make sure to select any of these. And then of course as the output right here, so instead of my regular speakers, I can do one of the 2 Voicemeter outputs, so it's going to be voice aux input, once again, which is going to be this one, and also one of these 2, depends which one you want to link it to, because these are the virtual outputs, and also of course the Voicemeter input once again, which would be this one right here. And of course you can also link it to the cable input, VB audio virtual cable, of course. And for the virtual inputs, you can actually do some of the same time. For example, you just select these 2 and just put them both to B2. Select the input to B2 right here. And for example, the output, so let's say for example Discord and OBS, if you want them both right here, you just select as an output the Voicemeter aux right here. Input, VB audio, Voicemeter, VA/IO. This one specifically as an output. So in that case, if you also do this for Discord, you'll be able to send both Discord and OBS to one channel right here as a virtual input, of course. If I go back here, if you have, for example, the microphone selected, you can go to the 3 dots, properties, and you can make sure that the device in question is one of these inputs, of course, as well. This is a little detail there. Okay, anyway, if you're done with that and you have a couple of settings right here and you of course want to save the settings, you go to menu right here, simply click save settings. This will take you to a folder. Now I made one myself, but there should also be a local C file that's been put in the program files by Voicemeeter itself, where you can actually save it as your own project. But you can also take the initiative yourself and just go to documents and make your own Voicemeeter folder. And as you can see, just save it right here. But you just have to create one yourself and then just go to that folder and click save right here. Now it's going to be a .xml file. So just call this file whatever you want and it's going to be .xml. Now, of course, if that's done and you want to, for example, load a file, you can always go back to menu right here. You of course want to do load settings. And then of course you can choose one right here. Or as I said, a setting that you already saved yourself. You just double click on it or open right here. And as you can see, this one right here, you can also do load settings on startup. But from my experience, it already shows you your settings on startup anyway when you're just launching Voicemeeter Banana. But in case, you can always make sure that that one is selected right here, so that every time you launch Voicemeeter Banana, the settings are already ready to go. But anyways, guys, a bit of a lengthy video here. I really tried to go over really all the things that you can do within Voicemeeter Banana. Try to simplify it as much as possible. If you still have any questions, leave them down below. In any case, I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, would be really nice. Subscribe would also be really nice. And I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye.